Yeah, well, we're getting ready for obviously a tough road trip here to Minnesota. Always a hard place to play. They got a good team battling through the season. Just in watching them play, they've had some great wins, and know how difficult that's going to be. And then, obviously, the return home into the following couple weeks is going to be jam-packed, with a lot of games against great teams. So for us, we have plenty of opportunities. It's one day at a time, and this week has been a week where we've broken up our week with practices and a few days off. We've got some guys that are under the weather here a little bit with the season, going through some of that. But for the most part, we've prepared well, and we'll have another day today, and then obviously a early start tomorrow.
Just as important as Duran has been to you the last couple of weeks, is he at a point maybe where he can play, you trust him playing beyond 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever he can handle from a conditioning standpoint and also foul trouble, we've been able to navigate him where he's played in the 20s a few times, which is probably about what he can handle conditioning-wise. But he's definitely been a big boost for us here. Gives us another guy offensively that can play a little bit, in terms of his back to the basket and also reading defenses. And, from Michigan State really on, he's been a positive in that regard. So hopefully he can continue to go that route, and we'll continue to use him as much as possible.
Playing him alongside Juwan, how much is that something that you guys would like to try to maybe do a little bit more of? I know you've done in bits and pieces here moving forward.
Yeah, it's something that obviously something we look forward to, hopefully bringing to the table a little bit more. Number one, it gets Juwan moving around a little bit more with different players guarding him. He's able to guard different players as well. We had that combination on the floor a few times in our last few games, and that lineup has been positive. You get two pretty good, low post, and with Juwan being able to move on the perimeter a little bit, you got a little inside-outside game with those two guys, and it's something that as the backstretch here continues to propose more opportunities to get those two guys on the floor together is a good thing.
Kind of a two-part question. First off, I think before the Ohio State game, Race was on pregame radio and mentioned that he's feeling a lot better getting into conditioning and stuff. Just how close do you think he is to maybe making an appearance in a game, not in Minnesota, but for the rest of the season? And the second part would be whether it's guys like Race or Clifton or Demezi, how do you balance maybe the lesser experienced players getting a run out and the games for the rest of the season where each one is so vital to you guys' postseason fortunes?
Well, Race has done a nice job in his last 2.5 weeks of just practicing every day hard. He hasn't missed. He's starting to get his conditioning level back, and he's starting to move better. I do think there's an opportunity for us as a staff to keep evaluating things and find a way to give Race a crack at it if it feels ready and we feel he can help. And I think at this point in time, he's starting to see himself as sort of back in rhythm, so to speak, to the best of his ability. And it's tough sometimes as a staff. A guy has missed as much as he missed. You just don't know. But until we fire him in there, which I do think, I think we're going to give that a look here this next opportunity at Minnesota and on. And he's got to be ready. And when he gets his chance, hopefully he can continue to do it. Our bench has been something that we've, tinkered with, all season long. Injuries have given guys certain opportunities. Here of late, we've played a lot of different types of guys in certain games, and that's key to your team's development, the morale, everything. And I feel like we'll keep firing guys in there to the best of our ability. Certain games will present certain challenges for some guys. Other times, you're forced to play guys with foul trouble or injuries or whatever it may be. And I think that everybody on our team knows that they're going to have an opportunity to get in.
What makes Jordan Murphy so challenging to defend, not only in the paint, but just the rebounding ability he gives Minnesota as well?
Well, he's a terrific player. Obviously, that goes without question. His numbers are incredible throughout his career. He's a senior, but he is a unbelievably physically strong player, and probably doesn't get as much credit as he deserves in terms of his rebounding. His rebounding on both ends of the floor is phenomenal. But his ability to drive the ball with power, his ability around the basket to just kind of like knock you off balance and be able to power through. Or his second jumps are incredible. He's a really gifted, sturdy, strong player that isn't the, obviously doesn't have the greatest size, but I mean, his jumping, his strength, his low center of gravity, he just has a really he commands a lot of attention. He's a physical guy, and obviously his career speaks for itself. He's having a tremendous year for them right now, but he is a load to deal with on defending him from the perimeter on in, defending him with his back to the basket, and then keeping him off the glass. I mean, it's a challenge.
Maybe playing off that a little bit, talk a little bit about the development of their freshman center.
Oh, yeah, Daniel Arturo. He's a terrific player, was really highly regarded coming out, local kid who stayed home. 6'10", great length, can really run the floor, has touched to 15 feet and in, shooting jump shots, turnaround jump shots, and he's very good, obviously, around the basket, but he's going to be a really, really good player in our league for a long time. He's having a very good freshman season.
It had been a while since you had this kind of extended period just for practice. But what did you want to do with those days that you had this week just to work on stuff?
Well, I think the big thing is you have some chance to spend some time on yourself. You're trying to, get better. You're trying to practice fast at the same time where you're not doing it, the mental is the physical at this time of year for your guys. So you want to be going hard, but you also want to be giving them, not time to recover, but more time to work on their own games, either pre-practice or post-practice. But our time on the floor has been competitive. They've been fast practices. They've been hard. We're trying to get better at certain things, watching film and whatnot, but it's been some time that we can spend on ourselves.
Has this season maybe changed your approach in recruiting as it relates to shooters? Are you attacking different types of recruits now, just given some of the needs this team has shown?
I mean, we've always had a philosophy in recruiting that won't change. It's not as if we go out there and recruit guys who don't shoot the ball. I mean, that's not the objective. I think perimeter firepower is something that's obviously, fresh on the mind moving forward. And I think true size, size around the basket is something that's got to be brought to the table as well. Just identifying your needs and obviously seeing how your team has developed over some time as well and what you have to adjust to. But our recruiting philosophy is always going to be the same. We're trying to recruit obviously the best players that make sense for Indiana and our staff, and are part of, what we hope is a future of the building blocks. That guys play through mistakes early in their career, they get better, they earn their stripes, so to speak. But without question, I mean, the skill level has got to be there, the shooting level has got to be there, and I just think in general, just as you watch college basketball, the size that you need to be able to endure in a long Big Ten season is something that is fresh on the mind. And we're not done recruiting by any stretch of the imagination. Our teams will always have a chance to hopefully be bolstered at any point in time with the ability to add new players. But our recruiting philosophy is fine. We've brought in one class, we got a second one coming, and hopefully that second one isn't finished yet, and then we keep moving on and trying to get deeper. I mean, you want your classes to stack upon top one another, and you want them to be able to get older with one another. And that's where we're sort of at the beginning stages of being able to stack a couple together here.
You mentioned the past couple of weeks about guys that are trying to embrace the grind, getting to work every day to try and get out of the slump you guys have had. Mm-hmm. Is that something that the team's reacting to positively? I just guess from your standpoint, have the players kind of embraced the grind in the way that you've wanted them to, despite the on-court results being what they have been?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in many stretches you've seen our team sort of play in spurts the way that you want them to play. You're trying to be able to sustain more of that for longer stretches. That goes along saying with, our last 3 games being at Michigan State, Iowa, and Ohio State, very competitive games. You just weren't able to finish the later 2 out, as you probably go to overtime at Michigan State, could have went either way. But we're playing in very hard 1-possession, 2-possession games, and we got to be better in certain areas to be able to win those. Defensive rebounding, embracing offensive execution where you don't turn it over and you get a shot at the end of the clock. And those are just some things I think as a team that we have to embrace and get a little better. But without question, our competitive spirit, what we're doing every day, and certain guys really staying with it right now isn't the problem.
And any updates on Jerome Hunter's status or Zach McRoberts?
Zach is still out indefinitely here with his foot. I do think that he's improving. He is conditioning, and he's getting in certain little things in practice. He won't be available this weekend and probably not early next week. Maybe at some point in time he resumes his practice, but he's not practicing. Jerome, he's just out indefinitely to be determined on his status. He's got some things that, obviously he's working through. He's a part of what we're doing right now on the court at times during practice, but he's nowhere near ready to play a game.